Your phone buzzes. You look. Nothing important. You look again 10 minutes later anyway. You already know this is irrational. You do it anyway. Hundreds of times a day, your hand moves toward the screen before your brain even decides to move it. But the real answer for why isn't about apps, or notifications, or willpower. It's about something in you that's over 2 million years old, and it was never built for a world with screens in it. Start here. Your brain does not crave information. It craves the possibility of information. Those are not the same thing. In the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner ran an experiment with pigeons and a lever. Press the lever, get food, every single time, and the pigeon presses it calmly like clocking in for a shift. But change the rule. Make the food arrive at random, unpredictable intervals. The pigeon doesn't calm down. It becomes obsessed. It presses the lever more, not less, faster and more frantically than when the reward was guaranteed. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement, and it remains one of the most powerful behavior patterns ever documented. Certainty satisfies you. Uncertainty enslaves you. Your phone is not a lever with guaranteed food. It's a lever with maybe food, and your brain cannot resist maybe. Here's where it gets stranger. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge spent decades studying the brain's reward circuitry and found something that reshaped how we understand desire itself. He discovered that wanting and liking are controlled by separate systems in the brain. Dopamine, the chemical everyone blames for pleasure, isn't actually about pleasure at all. It's about anticipation. It fires hardest right before the reward, not during it. You get the biggest hit of dopamine in the moment just before you unlock your phone, not after you've read the message. The craving is the point. The payoff is almost beside it. Think about that for a second. The seeking is the sensation your brain is actually chasing, not the finding. So why would evolution build a brain that rewards searching more than finding? Because for nearly all of human history, searching was survival. Your ancestors weren't scrolling. They were foraging. Every day for hundreds of thousands of years, humans walked through unfamiliar terrain not knowing what they'd find. Would there be berries past that ridge? Prey tracks near the water? Danger in the tall grass? Neuroscientist and researcher Robert Sapolsky has written extensively about this exact mechanism, showing that dopamine spikes highest not when an animal receives a reward, but when the reward is uncertain and the animal is actively searching for it. A brain that felt satisfied only after finding food would starve waiting around. A brain that felt driven during the search, restless, alert, hungry for the next clue. That brain survived. You inherited that brain, fully intact. Nothing about it has changed in 10,000 generations, except the terrain has changed completely. Your ancestors foraged for calories. You forage for information. And your phone has become the richest, most abundant foraging ground your species has ever encountered. Every scroll is a footstep into unfamiliar territory. Every notification is a rustle in the grass that might be food, might be danger, might be nothing. Your prefrontal cortex knows it's probably nothing. But the part of your brain doing the actual driving evolved long before there was a prefrontal cortex sophisticated enough to argue with it. There's a second, older hunger tangled up in this one, and it has nothing to do with food. British anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent his career studying primate social groups and found that grooming, the physical act of picking through each other's fur, wasn't primarily about hygiene. It was about maintaining social bonds and tracking where you stood in the group. Dunbar proposed that as human groups grew too large for physical grooming to keep everyone connected, language evolved partly to replace it. Gossip became the new grooming. Talking about who did what, who said what, who's in favor and who's fallen out. This wasn't idle chatter. It was social maintenance. It told your ancestors exactly where the danger was and exactly where they stood. Now look at your phone again. Every notification, every like, every comment, every message is a tiny piece of social information. Am I included? Did they see it? Do they still think about me? Your brain treats these signals with the same urgency your ancestors gave to knowing whether they were still welcome at the fire. Missing that information once might have meant exile. And exile, alone on the savannah, usually meant death. So when you feel that itch to check, understand what's actually happening underneath it. It isn't weakness, it isn't a lack of discipline, it's two ancient systems, foraging and belonging, both firing at once, both convinced that not checking might cost you something real. Except now there's no bottom to the foraging ground, no end to the grass. Your ancestors eventually ran out of terrain to search each day. They got tired. They found enough food, or they didn't, and either way, the search ended when the sun went down. Your phone never runs out. There is always one more post, one more headline, one more possible message. The variable reward never stops resetting itself, refreshing endlessly, infinitely. You are foraging in a field that has no edges, and the same brain that once needed uncertainty to survive is now stuck feeding on uncertainty that never resolves. Does this mean you're broken? No. It means you're running software built for a completely different environment, and nobody warned you the environment would change this fast. 2 million years of evolutionary pressure built a mind exquisitely tuned to scarcity, to danger, to the value of every scrap of new information. Then, within the span of one single human lifetime, we handed that mind an infinite, frictionless, always available stream of exactly what it was built to crave. You are not weak for struggling with this. You are ancient. The engineers who built these apps knew this. They studied Skinner's pigeons. They studied Barrage's dopamine curves. They built pull-to-refresh gestures that mimic a slot machine lever. They built infinite scrolls so the search never has to end. They weren't inventing a new kind of hunger. They were reawakening one that was already there, buried under city lights and glass screens but never gone. And they built the perfect terrain for it to run wild in. So the next time your hand drifts toward your phone with nothing waiting on it, don't blame yourself. Notice instead what you're actually feeling. It's the same restlessness that once sent a small group of humans across a ridge to see what was on the other side. It's the same alertness that once meant knowing exactly where you stood with everyone around the fire. It's ancient, it's automatic, and it was never about the phone at all. The phone buzzes. You look, but it was never really about what's on the screen.